I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast, set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a dead
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
Ready to take your heading skills to the next level? Introducing the Basics of Roping, the ultimate online course for beginners. With over 2 hours of step-by-step instruction, drills, and swing breakdowns, this course is designed to teach the fundamentals of team roping in a way that is easy to follow. You'll learn everything from the basics of rope stretching and care to understanding the swing and rotation of your hand. Whether you're new to roping or just looking to refine your technique, the Basics of Roping has you covered. Head to my website, Charlie Crawford Training, and click on the course tab to follow the link to sign up. The first 100 students to sign up will get this course at a special rate of $100. This would be a great Christmas present for that aspiring team roper in your life.
All right, I'm very excited about this podcast. I've been talking about this event that just happened last week. We've been talking about it all year long, the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway. And so I'm very excited. We have Matt and Amanda Kimes and what they call in the industry right now, what everyone's talking about as a marketing gangster, the chief marketing officer, Lindsay Perraton. Is that how I say it? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great introduction.
I tell
Best
you what,
I've ever had.
It is. What you guys have done last week was truly amazing. It was historic. When we talk about breakaway ropers, just I would say 10 years ago, the shelf life basically of what once they go to college, they basically better make sure if they get a full ride to college, that when they're done with college, then breakaway is probably going to be part-time, because whatever they went to college for, they're going to make sure that's probably going to be their job, and amateur rodeos and maybe doing some team roping and things like that. What you guys did for last week was starting to get where girls feel like now they can make a living and go way further now with the rope in their hand. So kudos to that. But thank you guys for coming on to the podcast. Tell us about the event last week. It's hard to believe that was a week ago.
I know. It was wonderful. It was one of the most, we've been talking about it a lot since the event, and it was one of the most rewarding things that we've ever done.
It was the most rewarding thing that we've done.
I say one of, because, we have children, so those are the most rewarding. As a business, it was definitely the most rewarding thing we've done, and we all have different things to take away from it. But for me, the stories that came out of it and how gracious everyone was, and how we, I don't want to say that we changed people's lives, because that sounds a little arrogant, but we did. We changed people's lives, and we gave them a new, outlook on what their future looks like and what they can do with their passion. And I think that part, it still makes you tear up a little bit. And I haven't fully grasped, I guess, what has happened and what we pulled off last week. It was just really remarkable.
I think what we did is we gave them the opportunity to change their life, because these two over here, we'll get into it later, they dreamed it up, thought it up, and pulled it off. And now somebody goes out there and, you were just talking about somebody's future. There was a young lady in there that's from high school, and I think she won $97,500.
She was 16 years old.
16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think of it, 16, probably the scholarship offers.
Reese Jacobs.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The scholarship offers she's getting for a full ride to do college rodeo. So now school's paid for in that respect because of her merit, really. So we gave her the opportunity to prove herself to probably a lot of schools, and now she comes out of school with some money in the bank. Doesn't have to use that for college if she doesn't want to. It's pretty emotional when you think about it. That's just one of many stories.
One of many. I think you guys did a really good job, in my opinion, too, of partnering up with Chris Neal. And for a lot of people, a lot of my following is a lot of team ropers and stuff. So people that don't understand, Chris Neal is basically your Dana White in the USC of calf roping. I mean, this guy's a promoter. His attention to detail, how he puts together. I've been to his events. My daughter's been to his events. My wife goes to his events. He creates a really good environment. What he does for the youth coming up gives them a really good experience. What he does for sponsors, everything is ran to the T. His attention to detail. I thought between that, Teton Ridge, man, it was just an amazing event. The way it looked, the way it felt. Total payout of almost $1.4 million in Breakaway. So that's an amazing week. Tell me what was kind of the preparation? What was kind of what your guys' feel of where you thought this was going to go, say, 2 weeks ago?
Well, two weeks ago, I was already at the point where I was saying yes to everything. We'd gone through so much that I kind of had to hit the point where I was like, well, we're here. So, and my whole team was kind of looking at me like, who are you right now? Because I'm particular, they know that about me. And so, when they were asking the question, I'm like, yes, let's do that. Or, kind of going with the flow because we were so in the depths of it at that point that I'm like, well, we are here. So it's either find a solution or move through it. And so how it was going to go, I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I knew that we had worked our butts off to make sure that every detail and everything we could think of was covered, but you don't know what you don't know. And so I knew at some point there was going to be that moment where we forgot this or we didn't think about this. And,
or the internet goes out the night
or
before
the internet goes out, and we knew something like that would, and thankfully it went out the night before broadcast in the facility. So then we were, swivel, fix, right, and move on. And so we were able to kind of do that throughout in that first week, making sure that we found the solution for it. And so there was a lot of little moments, but to be honest, it wasn't as many moments as we thought there was going to be, or I thought there was going to be. I thought there was going to be some massive thing that just blew up, and that just never happened. But there was a lot of little things that, if we baseline at what we did, there's still so much potential, but we still did pretty darn good, at that. Like, there wasn't a lot of complaints. There's some feedback on things that we can change. There always is. There's little things that we saw when we placed all the banners in the arena, and, things that we can do more for sponsors. And, there's always up leveling, but there really wasn't any like catastrophic moment that I went, oh, shoot. So, leading up, I guess, we were just kind of in work mode. It was just like, it was all hands on deck. And I have, an all girl marketing team, and they literally, with Matt to place, floor decals. I'm Canadian, so they're decals, not decals to me. Put up banners
for us.
Yeah. And so with Inkimes Ranch, they're called
like
decals. But they just stepped up so hard for me. And it was, I need you to do this. Nobody said that's beneath me. Nobody said I'm not going to do that, or that's not my job. Like, they just, and they have totally different roles than what was expected of them on setup. And so they all just, they worked so hard, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
They were wonderful.
Well,
Amanda, you had a moment or two of anxiety leading up to it, but just in the last few days, right before.
Well, it was one of those moments where, if you look back to when we said, yes, we're going to throw this event, I think the three of us knew it was going to be monumental. We knew what we were creating, and that was the goal. And then Lindsay and her team were really the ones that went in and dove deep and created all the specifics and had the details and all of the things to put on an event. Leading up to it, the days and hours beforehand, I had that moment where I went, oh my God, we threw a giant event. We're spending an exorbitant amount of money, and there is no one here because the Breakaway ropers hadn't really rolled in yet. No one had rolled in. So we're looking at this beautiful arena, and it has banners up, and it looks stunning. And we see the TV crew coming in, and everything's going up, and there isn't a girl to be seen throwing a rope anywhere. And I went, no one's going to come.
Well, we come from the horse show world where everybody shows up 2 or 3 days
They
early.
show up days before in
and
little
they
circles.
loping around,
Yeah.
and so Amanda looks out there. And
and I
like,
was panicked.
She's like, "There's nobody here." I'm
in
like,
fact, so
"They'll be
we
here."
went to bed. It was Tuesday night, and it's late, and we all go to bed. And Chris Neal sends me a text at like, I don't know, 4 in the morning. No, it wasn't even that late.
Like midnight or something.
I was sound asleep. And he sent me a picture of girls checking into the hotel finally, like they had just rolled in. And he goes, "Amanda, they're coming." And I went, "Oh my God, thank goodness."
Throw $1 million breakaway, nobody shows up.
How great was it though with Chris Neal's help? You know, I think both of you guys, you know, every time I would look up, all of y'all were involved. You know, your guys' attention to detail, his attention to detail. It seemed like just such a great fit. And you know, watching it, everybody I've heard that was texting, you know, watching the event said even on TV, it looked great. Everything looked great. The lighting, all the little details to where it looked as professional as it could. It looked like everyone stepped up and made it a great event.
So Chris and his team came to Scottsdale. So Westworld is in Scottsdale, and that's where the event was held.
First walkthrough was June.
They came in, but he came in more than once, multiple times, and they did several walkthroughs of the facility to really understand it. And then when Teton came out closer to production, they brought their crew out, and there was several walkthroughs that you did with a checklist to make sure that everyone really understands, you know, what was going on. And we did a lot of run of shows, and Lindsay's team was so detail oriented, but we went through that list.
Well, and we were strategic in picking partners. You know, we chose Chris for a reason. We've worked with him since Rising Stars. You know, we built on that relationship, sponsoring all of his events. You know, I've said before, his attention to detail is unheard of in the industry. And just watching what he does within his own events and how he grows them and how he, I guess, parades his sponsors, right? Like in no other way that I've ever seen. Everything is clean. Every detail is met. And so, you know, watching him do that at his own events, there was no other partner for us. I mean, we'd grown our relationship a lot over the years, and, you know, he's now, I feel like my partner in crime. You know, I'm on the phone 24/7 with him, every detail. You know, we go back and forth, and if neither of us have the answer, then, you know, we source out and ask for advice, you know, and he does that a lot. And I love how customer service centric he is within his own productions, where he listens to the exhibitors like customers. And for me, that resonated a lot because we do that a lot within our business. And so culture-wise, we align well as well. We're both detail-oriented, but that component for me was important because the sponsors and the exhibitors are customers. And so, you know, yeah, we're not really in the event business, but clearly, I guess we're in the event business.
Well, yeah, don't forget, guys, we have a real job. Our main job, Kimes Ranch, is a clothing company. Yep. So that takes up, you know, our full time anyway. And so we threw, you know, this came on top of it. It's just
one thing too. You had three sets of professional. You had Chris Neal, who we just talked about. You had Teton, who put on a fantastic production and broadcast, and then you had the Kimes Ranch marketing team. So, but what can easily get overlooked is all three of those melded so nicely. There really wasn't any ego involved. Everybody, if there was a problem, they worked together to make it right. Everybody just kind of had the same vision and idea. That's hard to find when you have three separate entities working, but it speaks to the professionalism of everybody involved.
I would agree with that. I put on a big military event at the end of the year, and so I've put on these events as well. And when I watched yours, it did not look like a first time event. It looked like you guys had done it so much. And like I say, I think you surrounded yourself with like minded people, and it ran off really well. Thursday night, starting the first 3 rounds of the Breakaway Kimes Ranch $1 million. So what I think we started off in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma's Richest. That was the first qualifier.
In October.
Think almost 500 girls, if I remembered right.
Yes.
Yep.
Then you guys had the last chance, I think, qualifier there in Scottsdale at Westworld.
The Wednesday before.
And that one went off really well. And
14 hours between that and the buyback.
I remember I was pushing calves. And And then you guys had your kind of qualifying round for those girls to make it into the where they took the 15 girls from those 2 qualifiers into the Kimes Ranch $1 million event. And the top 10 girls from rodeo and from the PRCA all year long met with those girls. And so 25 girls started on Thursday night.
When we started, it mattered to us to have the girls at rodeo that were your name stars, because you're ultimately putting on a television show, and the qualifiers, because the qualifiers bring the underdog story or the stories we're all looking for. So having those 2 entities it really mattered to us.
Well, and also what I seen too was when I started watching the top girls come in, and they almost looked cold. And what I mean by that is the other girls have been kind of battling.
They found a rhythm.
It's kind of like watching the wild cards come in and then knock off the season leaders in the NFL. You watch them top girls where they kind of came in cold with them. Other girls have been warmed up. They already need to start. They'd already been in the arena. They had a groove where they had some confidence.
One girl in particular, Cash Gay. She's second in the second go of the semi, wins the next go, comes in and wins 2 out of the 3 in the first night, all in one day.
Yeah, I seen the team or the Breakaway Journal, I think, is posted a star was born overnight. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
She won 57,000 in about
in the first 3
6
rounds.
hours. Yeah. But Amanda and I, so admittedly, this is the most we'd ever watched Breakaway, but we were sitting back there having, competed in the horse industry for a long time. We both mentioned some of these girls might have whatever advantage the top 10 in the world has being the top 10 might be negated by these girls being in there with just exactly what you said, with the rhythm of understanding the arena and the moment and whatnot. So that was an interesting factor.
A lot of good
that
stories
we hadn't actually thought about.
A lot of good stories that kind of come organically that way. And then, I thought your crowd was good. Thursday night it was good. Weeknight.
Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was Thanksgiving.
I forgot.
We fed 500 that day.
I don't know how many family. I need to apologize to all my family because I didn't return hardly any texts because I think I was getting the girls ready that morning, and then we had to get the girls ready that night. I didn't even feel like Thanksgiving, so I did forget it was Thanksgiving. Friday night came in pretty good. I thought it dang near sold out. If it was really close to selling out,
really
on Friday
close,
night.
Which was a big surprise. Really, we knew it was going to do good, but it was better than we thought.
Yeah, great audience.
Yeah, great audience. Really good performance. The girls, man, did awesome. But what I loved about Saturday night was, because last year at the NFR, the girls Breakaway there at the South Point, a lot of talking points were kind of getting thrown at them last year, and it was unfair because the #AdBreakaway movement was really getting started last year because they put on a great show. It wasn't sold out at that event, but you wouldn't have felt it. Man, them girls put on a great show. It was there's a lot of electricity in there for, I'd say it's probably half full, maybe guesstimation, but a lot of energy in that room, and they put on a great show. And then everyone was like, hey, when are we going to get a Thomas and Mack? Hey, when are the girls going to get there? Well, then the talking points came out. Well, these girls need to pay their dues. And of course, my wife, she loved that one. That was her all-time favorite one. What dues?
Yeah, right. Tell me again how Jackie Crawford hasn't worked hard at this.
And then the next one they talked about was, well, why did we even add that? They can't even sell out South Point. And so it was one of those things that really kind of put a chip on my shoulder a little bit. And so when I seen a sellout crowd on Saturday night there in Scottsdale at Westworld, I'm like, good for you guys. Way to go ahead and freaking smash that bullshit out of the air because it was packed.
And it was Scottsdale.
Yeah, it was standing room only.
Good for those girls is what that is.
Yeah, it was
girls
amazing.
Brought them there. Like we gave them the venue, but if they hadn't have been competitive and exciting the 2 nights before, we're taking a lot of credit here, but they had to bring the energy, and they did.
No, it was phenomenal. And so what I would say the economic impact that you guys brought to this industry would be Haley Williams won $115,000. D-Lo, who brought the house down.
They love her.
She was great.
She's a star.
Arizona,
local
Navajo Nation came in. It was awesome. It was great to see her thrive.
Does she ever swing it more than twice?
No. She gets mad if she does.
2 swings.
And then your girl that came through the qualifications, Reese Jacobs, $97,000. Kelsey Domer got on a heater, caught all 10 calves, $95,000 she won and won the average. Those are things that those changed their lives in perspective of a lot of those girls didn't even have that one going into the NFR. What they were able to do in 3 days was more than what they did, starting from Odessa, Texas in January. Well, it actually starts in October, but basically a full year of rodeo, and girls were winning more in 3 days than they had, all year long.
Well, and I think we were saying that about Haley Williams. She had $85,000 going into all year. She'd rodeoed for $85,000, and then she walked away after 3 nights with 115 from our event.
I think she got 50,000 on the last night. She had 55 going into last night, something like that. Yeah. Ended up, it was big. It was big.
Wild.
The Kelsey was amazing because Amanda and I kind of sat in the corner the first night when it first went off. We had a little, and we were watching, and I don't remember what her run was, but she fouled her spoke, had to chase the calf around, and then it was
round one.
It was big time for me because watching it, I go, that girl that was roping right there. It wasn't breakaway. I get it because it wasn't 2 seconds, but I was like, wow, and
that's overcoming
big time. And then she ended up winning the average, and that came back to.
Well, if that doesn't tell you never give up, I don't know what does.
I was probably most impressed with that run that night of anything I saw.
Well, what that did also was that gave that girl so much confidence going in because she had to. When we move on to the NFR that they just had there at South Point, that
she was on fire.
She was back a ways. She had to do really, really good in order to have a chance because Shelby, Jackie, Josie, Munsell, they were all ahead of them. She was kind of the last girl that kind of had a chance, and that confidence, you could see it just roll on in there.
Didn't she roll 9 in a row?
She rolled 9 in a row.
19
she
in
was
a row.
about to be 20 for 20.
She was.
And missed the last one, and you could hear the air come out of that arena. And
still amazing. Though.
She had it. Well, she had it won before she, had the average one, so she didn't have to really catch that calf. But oh my gosh,
but everybody wanted it for.
Oh yeah, to go 20 for 20. That's a beast mode. And to me, that energy kind of created her to have that
power moment.
Vibe, And then you could see when she won the average, and no one knew, because no one was posting numbers. There was nothing. No one knew what the rounds paid. No one knew what the average was. So everyone was in the dark. But you could see, though, like when they went ahead and said, okay, now this is your world championship or your world champion, Kelsey Domer. I was like, man, how much a lot of that had to do with kind of the week beforehand and just what a week for her.
How many people in the stands you think knew that she'd gone 10 for 10 and, so
everybody.
It's great. But it's fantastic because it's just like one feeds into the other and everybody's vested in what these girls are doing, not just one vent to the other.
Because I looked over the Breakaway Journal. I've been calling and texting. I've been trying to find, and I'm not trying to make no digs, but it is what it is. I can't find nothing on what the payout was. Nothing was posted on the intercom, like the big screen. Nothing was posted on nothing, and I could find your guys' stuff, but I couldn't find nothing there.
Well, that's that gangster marketing again.
That's right.
Put it out
but there. Did you guys? And you guys watched it too. The electricity there was good. I mean, the Breakaway it's a great event.
It's a great event. It's exciting. It's fast. It's
well, and Deirdre today from Teton was saying, when she came on board, it's because she saw the Breakaway and from a total outside perspective, because she's not a horse person. She said, this is a mainstream marketable event. Look at this. And, and that's kind of why they came on board, is because of her perspective was, we can do this and we can showcase this sport and showcase these athletes to a mainstream audience.
Well, she mentioned to me that she even got she quoted Northeast New England husband sports guy. Like he just likes traditional ball sports. And she made him turn on the Breakaway, and by the third night he was in. Like wanted to watch it, and he was into it. So
yeah, and you're talking about Deirdre, who's the CEO of Teton Ridge. In case nobody's familiar with that,
she's like, I want you to watch the event that I'm a part of, and he was into it. It was cool. That's pulling non-Western individuals into it.
Well, one of the things that I've seen from last year is I believe that Cheyenne Guillory was. Cheyenne McCartney now. I think she was the high money earner last year. I think around 26,000, 29,000. Well, let's go ahead and do like in the
NFBR.
And
okay.
At the Breakaway, yes. And they're at South Point last year. Well, let's just roll down what your credit cards are by the time these girls get there.
Right.
Let's roll down the fact that just if your horse didn't get crippled and you're just maintaining and what your vet bills are.
Yeah.
This ain't even counting what rigs and a truck and a trailer. And if you have, don't even talk about if you have your own place, So when you look at that, it's like, if you're lucky, you might get to zero if you're the high girl winner. So like, man, that makes it, it's great that it's getting somewhere, but still, when they're talking about these girls having to pay their dues, you're like, I don't think you guys are understanding. The calf, Riley Webb won $33,000 last night on one calf, and then you're talking about now, because that's what I was trying to find out today. What was the high money winner? I know it had to be Kelsey. And, I think it was maybe around 30 is what some guys speculated, but no one knows. And like literally,
I did see it
Riley
somewhere,
Webb won more than that in one calf in the first round.
Well, I know that she won 16,000 on the average. I know that. And then I don't think she won any round, but she was winning like 1,500, 2,500, something like that.
Well, that's where it goes to show you that these women are going down the road for not a lot of money, and that doesn't supplement their lifestyle. So they've got to have jobs, like real mainstream jobs. They've got to have somewhere to go earn. And a lot of them are mothers, right? We're not talking about that. So they're pulling double, triple duty, taking care of kids, running a household, having another job, supplementing, doing whatever, on top of being a top athlete. They're pulling triple duty harder than a lot of the men.
That is Kelsey.
Exactly.
Is, got little Oakland right
dues,
around her.
Dues and bills.
Tell me again about the dues they're not paying.
Exactly. So when I seen that last year, I was like, man, there's a hole in the industry. You could see it. Everyone could see it. Everyone could feel it. They could seen that hashtag ad breakaway movement rolling on. People were showing up with signs. And then was it January, February when you guys came out with the news that you guys were going to
January we came up with the idea because we were at market.
What created this idea? Because I kind of felt it coming. But when you guys stepped up and did it, I'm like, oh, crap. They're doing it. Somebody is actually doing it.
Well, it was in Dallas with her and Chris.
Well, so the hashtag ad breakaway was around the year prior as well, but not really on as much of a scale as it was. So the conversation had been happening amongst Kimes Ranch internally. And I think we all just assumed someone was going to jump in and do it.
We also assumed that it would push them in because it was enough of a movement. We thought they would just.
So I think for me, I'm speaking completely for me, I just assumed it was going to happen. And then it didn't. And like you were saying last year, the narrative was very different on that. And,
they renewed the contract, and then it was for sure not in.
No one leaked anything that they were going to breakaway.
It was just quiet.
Yes.
So we were like, is this not happening? Like, we just assume when there's pressure like that and everybody wants something, then, there's a movement for the greater good and everybody moves forward, right? And nothing happened. And so we were like, is this really, nothing's happening? And so, the whispers and everybody talking, like, really, that nothing's happening? Like, so, okay, then what can we do because nothing's happening?
So there we are at market. We're at our wholesale market. And these two and Chris Neal.
Myself, and Lindsay sat down for 2 straight days almost.
I kept walking by going.
Stood and paced.
We stood and paced.
We had like a high top, and they were just kept talking about it. And then they'd tell me because I was there. I was like, you guys.
Well, Lindsay and I basically, through a myriad of discussions, in a nutshell, we were like, hey, Chris, let's do this. And I think Chris turned sheet white.
And then he kept bringing in people to tell us like why, and about like Scott Davis from WCRA, and he's like, what do you think about this? And he just kind of like pull anyone who was walking by to be like, listen to this idea, what do you think? And they would be like, oh, I don't know. And so he had plenty of reasons.
It's a big swing.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't know anything but big swings around here, so we go for broke, and we kind of just hashed it out.
We like to look at something we know nothing about and say, let's go do that.
So by the end of the second day, we're still in Dallas. Mind you, with our real job, we're selling jeans and talking to buyers, and our big Cavenders are there and Boot Barn's there, and all of our big players are there, and we're supposed to be doing that job. And Chris keeps coming in with the list of why we shouldn't do it. And Lindsay told the story earlier. At the very bottom, there was, well, it's the right thing to do. It was basically like the bullet point. And that's what Lindsay and I glommed onto. And at the very end of day 2, we had stayed committed. Lindsay and I had stayed committed to this idea the whole time. And we would just look at each other and kind of chuckle and look at each other and chuckle. And Chris paced a hole in the ground. And then he finally was like, okay, let's do it. And then we announced it within, I don't know, 10 days or 15 days on Cowboy Channel.
Yeah, it was, well,
Well, it was in February because we
had a deadline on February 12th.
19th,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, somewhere around there. And then it was kind of a deadline that put us, if at this point we would make a decision to do it after that, and we did. And they went on like a week later and announced it. So it was like the 19th that you guys went on, and 38 weeks ago. Came up on my Instagram.
It was 38 weeks ago.
The three of you on Cowboy Channel was 38 weeks ago.
So is there any word, or do you guys know what? So last year they had $200,000 added for the National Finals Breakaway roping. This year I think they got $300,000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are they not able to get the sponsorship? Does no one? Because I've heard people throwing money out there. I've heard people trying to do stuff.
Well,
I
don't have the answer to that. If they're not looking for it, or if they can't, surely they can get it.
Well, I've heard people have offered.
Well, I know
Jackie has people who has talked to me about people that have tried. So I don't know if it's like, I don't know how the game is played, if that makes sense. In the fact of,
well, we offered.
So you guys offered.
Yes. So that was I'm going to just say it. So we had the idea. These two put it together, and we knew this is what we wanted to do. But for one last shot, we went to them and said, if you put the girls in, we'll pay for it. The PRCA. And we said, we will pay for it. We'll put up the money for the thing. And they kindly.
They had a myriad of reasons why it didn't make sense. And
it was a good conversation.
It was a great conversation, and they were, thankful. And they had a list of reasons in which they can't understand.
Some of it out of their control, and some of it probably just they weren't ready for it. And then we turned the switch on.
I mean, our original goal was to put them in the main. We wanted them in Thomas and Mack. That's what we were trying to do.
Right.
I mean, that's where everybody wants to see.
So that's where it gets confusing, is being able for them to get them in the Thomas and Mack.
Yeah,
it's not so much the money.
It's
because I've heard of other people asking. I've heard of other people offering the money. So even if just if it's I think South Point, but that might have been maybe what the other people was too, was I think they were like, we'll do it, but it has to go on Thomas.
So we found that out later. At our event, actually, I talked to an individual shortly after our event that said, hey, we went a year before you and said, we want to be a part of not only the PRCA, but our caveat is, and they gave me a very large number of dollars that they were willing to spend. And they said, we just have one caveat, that you put the Breakaway in. And they told us, no, thank you. And so they too walked away from a deal over that. So we're not the only ones.
And I do want to be clear that our offer was stipulated on it being in Thomas and Mack and having our name on it. That was a big one.
And being our athletes being able to wear.
Yes. But we also didn't give them an option. Now, it wasn't ever given to us as an option. Well, if we can't do Thomas and Mack, can we at least take the purse and leave it at South Point? That was never brought to us. Mind you, we never took that offer either. So in fairness, our offer was absolutely pay the payout. And we would like to see the girls in Thomas and Mack.
What I'm guessing is due to exclusivity.
I don't know. I think they have like a laundry list of reasons that they can't do it.
Time, I've heard. There's a lot of different things.
There's time. There's more people. There's more infrastructure. There's,
every one of them are overcomable. It just has to be something that they're in a position to do. So it's just they gave us a list, and I personally believe that eventually they'll be in there. It's just not there yet. And maybe what we're doing and what others will do will drive it to there.
And that's the hope.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is our way of trying to show support for them. Mm-hmm. And, the end result, if they do get in Thomas and Mack, then great. That was the whole point. Mm-hmm. We really just, we want to see them in lights. We want to see them being admired by little girls forever, and them being role models, which then builds the industry because everybody wants to come and watch their role model in that arena. We can't replace that with anything that we build, we're going to try because our event's great.
What we did do though, is instead of it being another one added to 10 or whatever it is, we showcased those girls. And for 3 nights, it was those girls. So it's almost in some respects, even if it's a stepping stone down the road, it was better than I think just being there. But you're right. I agree with you. We want them there as well. But our event it put the spotlight solely on them and their abilities and their stories and what they've gone through and what they've done. And we're very proud of that. And we didn't know, I mean, we had a feeling, but when we first did it, we didn't know how impactful it actually, at least I didn't,
No, I don't even think we really know the impact yet.
Yeah, until you do it.
I don't think we've had even a moment to kind of process. We're now here in the thick of it, and it's kind of cool to be, in the heart of the industry right now and hearing the feedback. But I don't know fully that they even know what moment they've had until, we get a couple, we get a couple months down the road, and then they look back and go, wow, that was huge. And then the hope is that they think that was so huge that it builds, right? And the event grows, and, everyone's support for it grows. And that's really, how we think that this helps Western industry as a whole and Breakaway.
When we were in the middle of it and it was happening, now, not to discount all the work that was put in by all of everybody involved, at least I looked around and thought, why didn't anybody else do this? Like, why did we do it? Like, I mean, obviously we made the leap, but there's other companies and that have been around longer than us that have the ability financially to do this at a higher level than we have. And I'm like, this was at the end of the day, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a big leap that we had to take. We understand that, but it seemed in the moment that maybe because it was just the right thing to do, it seemed in the moment like, why us? Why didn't anybody else do it? Did you feel that at all?
Yeah. Well, I still am shocked.
It wasn't
when
difficult.
We were talking earlier about this being like nobody made the move. And then we're like, we're the only ones left to make the move?
Yeah. I mentioned
And then it was interesting because, we started in more performance horse and, have moved and learned about rodeo and, clearly all Western industry ties in. But this one, I just felt like there had to be someone that had, or a brand that had kind of more, I guess, lengthy kind of sponsorship time and had been supporting rodeo for way longer than we had, that went, oh, this is my people. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, we're the only ones that believe this? And considerably, we're kind of the newbies, really. Mm-hmm. But, and maybe that's the difference, is we believe in innovation. We believe in forward progress. And maybe that's the difference in brands, is that, when they're established and they have that stability within the industry, then they don't need to do much more than just stay consistent. And for us, we never really look at things that way. We always think, what's bigger, what's bolder, what's better, what can we do more and how can we help more? I mean, that's a main thing, is that we live and breathe this industry. We're part of it. We compete. And so the betterment of the industry is our whole goal. Matt always kind of grounds us, and he says things like, he's like, we just sell jeans, guys. We just sell jeans,
Make jeans, sell jeans.
Right. And so like when Amanda and I get rattled about something and we're, upset or whatever, Matt's like, it's just jeans, guys.
We never get rattled or upset. That never happens. I don't know who you're talking to.
Definitely you. So,
well, you guys bring that energy. You guys are a startup company, and how long ago have you guys basically got started?
15 years.
So, for you guys to make this big of a play that early, I mean, that is impressive. So that, and it feels, like I said, when we were in that little arena there in Westworld, you could feel the energy. It felt like a big time event, and you guys bring that energy, I think, to it. And you can see why I think your company's gotten so big and mainstream now too, is it looks like you bring the same energy there. And when I see those little kids that are getting a chance to, those little 5 junior events that are able to go Breakaway, and they're in between the top girls in the world on Fox Sports or on Teton or,
that was Chris's idea, wasn't it?
Those little things like that, those are things that You know,
those girls don't know what they did. They just went out and roped, but I don't know if they really know they were on national television.
They're going to wake up in a week later too.
They were pretty excited.
Well, because that's when they see Kimes Ranch now. I mean, that's going to be an impact. You know, that's something to where I think that you guys put that brand in there. That like the girls are very loyal. They're going to see that in a long time from now. And you know, we talked earlier about sometimes the conservative ideas when you just kind of go down the same path. That people that come and innovate are going to bring new ideas and things like that. And you guys seen a hole in a market that looked like it was just like somebody grabs this, who knows what it could do. And I'm really excited to see what this does for you. I love seeing it. You know, for me, it was, like what Ariat's done, say in the World Series of team roping.
Yeah.
That's team roping now is $100 million a year industry. Just $20 million it brings for the payout right here in Vegas this week. For me, that's an economic impact for team ropers. That means I do more clinics. That means people are making more horses in the fraternities. That's where it's taken off there. You can see where the economic impact does for that. What you guys is really cool to see is what you guys are doing now and for Breakaway ropers. Because I was over there at the Classic booth just a second ago over there at Cowboy Christmas at the convention center. And I'm watching all these young girls swinging these ropes around, these breakaway ropes. What it's doing for saddles, what it's doing now, they're getting saddle pads, what it's doing for trucks, trailers, horses, all those things that, now say Kelsey Chase, when she decides now, or Jackie next year is slowing down, what this did for the industry and Breakaway now is, there was a lot of money that got added to it to where now their clinics are going to be doing really good because there's so many girls coming in. Now horses are going to be something that people are making for this event. And so,
well, to speak to that on the peripheral of that, they were doing a podcast or that thing down there. And I was talking to one of our endorsees, Clayton Edsel, who's a cow horse guy. And he was talking about how they've been swinging ropes on some of their younger cow horses, thinking about like, if they make the cow horse great, if they don't, they might be marketable as a breakaway horse. Mm-hmm. And that's somebody not in the breakaway world thinking about another avenue to put a well-bred, well-trained animal and have an entree to selling it. An opportunity. And there's going to be more like him coming out of our space that are like, hey, some of these are really good cow horses, but it's hard to train a cow horse. You got to do 3 different events. Not that it's not hard to do a breakaway, but add that one little element and you have yourself another thing.
Well, when they've come off the cow horse, that's when they're so easy to train for the roping. They know how to rate. They're broke. They know how to get their at. Like there's so many things when they come to that event that makes it so nice in the roping.
Well, now that there's more money involved and more girls doing it, those guys are going to be.
Well, you're talking about the economic impact, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. And I've been doing this for 10 days, but it is never, and everyone's probably in this room tired of hearing me say this, but it has never been cooler to be a cowboy than it is in this moment. Thank you, Taylor Sheridan. Thank you, whomever. All of the things that are going on, the door has been completely blown open and the world is watching and wanting to be a cowboy. And we cannot determine if you're a cowboy just because you can swing a rope or ride a horse. There's people that just resonate with being a cowboy, right? They wear a cowboy hat, they listen to country music, they drive a Honda Accord, they go to their office job. It doesn't matter. The fact that we have this opportunity to gain a larger customer base by accepting all these people into this giant growing concern of the Western industry is what really we all need to be doing. And the fact that we hear things like these girls don't pay their dues or it's not their time or whatever is incredibly disappointing because
it's gatekeeping.
It's gatekeeping and it's not allowing the industry to grow, which helps everyone, as you've been saying, with your economic impact. So the fact that we're not us, not Kimes, because I think that we're doing a great job there, but the greater industry as a whole isn't accepting everyone into Western is incredibly disappointing. And those doors will close. We'll lose this audience if we don't continue to work together and to bridge this gap of this world and to allow everyone else in, because it's only going to grow the industry and help all of us in the long run.
That's a really good point, because that's one thing that I've heard for so long. I've been out here rodeoing since, the 80s, early 90s and things like that. Got my card in 96. So I've been, amongst the PRCA and watching how things have worked for so long. And everyone's always bitching and moaning because there's not more money. But then as soon as more money starts getting here, then they get in their own way. Mm-hmm. Well, this or well, that, it's going to change things. It's so hard, I think, also, too, is like you're trying to keep the tradition. You're trying to keep the Western culture and tradition, which is great. But it also too is the dance and the line between keeping that tradition, but then also innovating to where getting it to where it could be. And that's where it feels like it still kind of sometimes gets in your way. But that's a really good point on the fact that this is a great window and it's time to seize it. And I thought what was pretty cool too was like, you guys were one of the first guys that kind of that attack dog get on Yellowstone.
Yeah, that kind of fell in our lap a little bit. Well, one of our that works for us, our sales manager was personal friends with Taylor Sheridan. He had managed horse shows, and at the time, Taylor would, living in LA at that time, would come out and participate and whatnot. And they got to know each other. And then he, when he started Yellowstone, or when he was in production, he asked him and asked us, and Lindsay got involved about sending some stuff or to keep an authenticity to the show, so it wasn't so Hollywood as far as like the costuming, and that kind of got us in early. And then you grew a relationship with the costume designer, and it went from there.
And it looks right. Like you look at Kevin Costner, he looks like a cowboy. You know, I really did
they did
notice
a great
that.
job.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just us; they had all the right kind of hat makers, and they did it right. Costume.
What Taylor had done in the industry, I think the last time it felt like it kind of had that steam built up was, I think, Lonesome Dove. You know, Lonesome Dove brought cowboy back being cool again, and what Taylor Sheridan's done, and the history, like the 1883 and 1923 and Fort Worth, and the stuff that he's done has been really impressive. He's a great historian, and he's made cowboy being cool again. And
we also have these pop stars. We can talk about music for just a second. Post Malone, Beyonce, whether you like it or not, they've created country albums, and they were huge successes. You don't have to like the music if you're in the Western industry, but we need to embrace that, because that's bringing an entirely different demographic in. Which
how many girls probably watched our deal that kind of got into country music, and it came up, and now somehow that young lady is going to go ride a horse for the first time, and she's going to swing a rope because that's what she wants to do, and then she's going to end up doing this. You're going to see it. It's not everybody that comes from a horse background that's going to be. We're going to see a story down the road where it's somebody.
That's part of the reason when we were picking our broadcast. We were back and forth with
different avenues.
Where do we go for this? And I don't think that Teton and Fox were the obvious choice, because the obvious choice is to kind of stay within the Western industry where your audience is. And so we battled that narrative for a little while on, what was the best fit. And
that was probably the hardest thing we did after we launched it. It took us months. People were like, where are you guys with this? Are you giving us a sponsor deck? And we did our diligence.
We did. And in the end, it came down to, the level of production and broadcast that we wanted to see, and the audience. And we said, our audience is going to go where we put it.
Yeah, they'll seek it out.
Then what else can we get, right? So, our Breakaway fans are going to follow us wherever, right? So that part for me wasn't, we're going to tell them where it's going to be live, and then they're going to watch it live. And then I was like, what is all the fringe that we can get out of this, that would be beneficial for the industry? And that's why we went with Fox, because look at that audience that we got. And, we were supposed to be on FS2, much, much lower reach. And we ended up on FS1 for 2 of the nights. And then we get another FS1 recap on December 29th. And we've already been replayed, as far as I know, at least twice. And so you're looking at that reach, and the messages I'm getting from people saying, my little girl rides hunter jumpers, and I couldn't pull her away from the TV because she loved it so much. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted, because that hunter jumper girl wasn't going to, go watch us on another channel, but it came up on Fox and she watched it, and I think there was, we heard so many more stories like that. People not in our world who know us, reaching out and saying, we watched every second. It was engaging. We loved it.
That was a great show. And I'm really excited for your guys' TV ratings to come out, because
Me too.
Chris is still waiting for that as well.
That might be another anxious moment.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
And it said 10 people watched it. yeah. We're deep into the
They were very enthusiastic, those 10 people. We heard from all of them.
They kept turning it off and clicking it on to get our numbers up.
So Jackie, she does a lot of broadcasting for Teton Ridge. And so when we were talking about, how the industry can sometimes get in its own way, it was a big ruffled. A lot of feathers got ruffled last year during the American because they decided to go with Fox, and so I think it was a delay. Was it 10 days?
Yeah, it was big. It was at least a week later.
That was part of our conversation too, because we wanted to be, and we asked them straight up, we want to be a live event. We can't do what you did. And they were very upfront with why that happened.
Yep.
And it had to do with the scheduling of things was, by the time they got the American and got it in place, that moment was already taken for them. So from moving forward from then on, it's going to be live. So once we learned
the part-time
that's
sting,
the television part.
The part-time sting though that they did, by the fact that, the guy could go with the Cowboy Channel at 3 or 4 million viewers, I think is what I'd heard, give or take. And what their goal was on Fox was to try to get to 40 million. Get into households that have never been watched rodeo again, build that new fan base. And like I say, you're talking about getting outside those tracks to where you're trying to innovate the industry. And of course, everyone in the industry was mad because it wasn't live, and I get it. But when you're looking at what their vision is, and
they said they were willing to take that hit, knowing that the next year and beyond was going to be where it was. They were very upfront with us because we, not being in the television industry, we didn't know, like, why didn't you do it? We just assumed you could do it. And they said there was contracts already in place, and we were too late to the game when the deal went through and they had it and whatnot. So,
but I think for a lot of people to understand the forward thinking that's trying to go on right now behind all that. But I'm kind of interested too, is where Teton, they just bought the Cowboy Channel, correct? So that's going to be very interesting. I think it's a good thing. I do
too.
Yeah.
We don't have the insight on anything, but from an outsider looking in, my guess is they're going to try to elevate everything that they've done in the past, or that Cowboy Channel is, and elevate it to the expectation of what they've been producing in their American rodeo series. And it can only be good for, everybody really.
Well, I want to, Cowboy Channel's been great for the industry. It's been great to televise that and do what they've done.
Without that, it wouldn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't be where we are. And so it's nice. Circumstances of Patrick's passing and all of those are tragic. But I do believe
he did
a lot, and I do believe that the future is bright in broadcast for our, the greater equine industry or agriculture industry, because of Patrick's vision. And then right now Teton taking over, and it's.
Well, he put rodeo on every week, right? Like nobody had ever done that before. And if they thought about it, they probably thought it wouldn't work. And he showed a path to how it can work.
Yep.
What I didn't mean when I was talking, I was going to discount what he had done, just that I think they're just going to elevate, just in a position to elevate the production value of it.
I do. I think, especially when you bring in the people that are in Teton, or also with Teton, but then also with the Cowboy Channel. Jeff Metter is such a great visionary guy, with Steve Kenyon and the stats, and they have such a good staff that's already in there with the Cowboy Channel also. And then I think with the Teton having that vision, I think it's going to be a great fit. I'm really excited to see where that goes for sure.
I agree.
The future is bright.
I agree.
It's bright.
So is this a one and done? Is this a next year? What's kind of the future looks like with the Breakaway
definitely
going forward?
Definitely not.
No, definitely not.
I know there's a lot of Breakaway ropers that are sitting there wondering,
we've already had our first chance qualifier for next year, so we're definitely on for 2025, and contract is in for the facility for the next 5 years.
When we get home from the NFR, we just need to determine the amount of extra days we're able to add. That's where we stand. So contract's in place. Westworld's thrilled. Scottsdale is beyond happy, and so we're not going
They had
anywhere.
a new general manager, actually, that didn't know much about equine, comes from managing like the Georgia Dome and places like that. So he came to he was a little apprehensive to sign a long-term contract with an event he doesn't know. He was there for the last night, and he's like, yeah, this is the way we want to do it, which was good for us.
We have a lot of plans.
Yeah.
So many, in fact, that it's like we're ping-ponging, not in a bad way. We're just like, oh, we could do this, and we can do that, and it can be great here.
Make Gene, sell Gene. That's all we do.
Oh, and then we have that. Yes, I've said this, I think. We have a real job.
Yeah. Well, I think the two things that works out good in your favor is, one, it's right there by your house.
That was strategic.
That's very nice. Yeah. And then two, how unbelievable was the weather? 80 degrees during the day.
Well,
we're thankful it was what it was, because it can rain. And
it can rain, but that's the reason that
and it's paved.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But it is the reason that Scottsdale or the greater Phoenix area, they host Super Bowls, they host national championships during this time of year because it is the special place to be.
So Scottsdale over Thanksgiving weekend, we weren't just like, hey, let's pick a terrible weekend to have an event because it's a holiday. That was very strategic for all of us because one, everyone that we wanted there, the top 10 that were invited, they were already on their way up to Vegas. So it was a natural pit stop for them. It was easy to lay over. 2, the weather, obviously. 3, it's in our backyard. Why wouldn't we do it? It's literally 20 minutes from our headquarters. And then 4, a huge consideration was it's a great avenue to bring, or a great opportunity to bring your entire family because there's ropings all over the valley during that time. So you could bring grandma, grandpa, your aunts or uncles, and you could go jackpot all weekend. You could come to this amazing event. There was youth activities going on. Chris also, in conjunction with our event, had his Rising Stars event. So all the kids were there. It's very family friendly as a brand. And culturally, we, believe in family first. Our kids are always running around. They're always in our hair. So if, we practice what we preach, it's definitely family affair always.
And Westworld is a premier facility. Mm-hmm. It really is.
It's a really nice facility.
And it's very large. We didn't use but maybe a third of it. So there's room for growth.
Airport's less than 20 minutes away. Yeah. The access to get in and out of there is good.
It's a very it throws some incredibly large horse shows, the quarter horse shows and Arabian horse shows, and not many facilities around the country can handle that pressure, and it can. So the opportunity for growth there is really good.
And like you say, the amount of ropers there. I mean, for team roping, that's the mecca for roping for the snowbirds. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's such a great. Like the weather's good. Even seeing Dean Tufton, he even stopped by there and watched it one night. I got to visit with him, and so you guys are getting in front of a lot of great people, and it's in a great spot. But all I know is from every breakaway out there, you think about the families out there that, for us, we got daughters that are, is this going to be something that's going to be a future for them? We got a 3-year-old that, you're hoping that if this is going to be their dream, because
we're not going anywhere.
To detour. It's hard not to detour them from, when you look at like, man, you're going to bust your butt for this. And like, that's a lot of hurt and pain for a lot of hurt and pain, and so to be able to see that there's a chance that, their dreams could be met. And what you guys are doing for that is, not only breakaway ropers, but families, fathers, mothers, everyone's saying thank you. Everyone from this industry is saying thank you for you guys. So we appreciate y'all.
We're thankful to be part of it. We're lucky to be able to take this step for them. And I just hope it was everything that they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Reiterate what Amanda said. It's the most rewarding thing that we've done as a business. It really is. It's not, and we don't take it lightly. I hope that that you will continue to grow our event, and it'll be around for quite a while. I hope that other producers and other events see the money and the production value and try to bring their events up as well, because that'll just make the industry itself better. So and maybe we can lead in that respect.
I agree. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
The second performance is about to start, so I know you guys are headed on in there. And so just like I say, everyone for the industry, thank you for what you guys are doing. I appreciate you guys. It was a great event, and looking forward to hearing more about it. So I think Chris and I are going to do a podcast, after market. And so that way we can kind of talk about when the next qualifiers are going to be.
After market, we'll have a whole new list of opportunities for it.
We'll come up with more ideas.
We'll be able to keep up with some more ideas you guys have, and also when the next qualifier is, because this is going to be big. Every girl's going to be, this is what they're gunning for now. So
well, and that's on the docket too. We're kind of reassessing that and maybe adding a couple more qualifiers and things like that.
Awesome. So admittedly, we're behind. You're supposed to be working on the next one before this one goes off, but we had to put all our efforts in making sure this one went right. But
did not look like a first-time event. You guys killed it.
So
thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's been
thanks
fun.
for having us.
Yeah,
appreciate it. All right, thank you.